All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're digging deep into the philosophical core of William Golding's novel, Free Fall. And trust me, this is way more than just a story. It's a really intense, sometimes painful investigation into what it even means to exist, to remember, and to be free.
So we're basically following our narrator, a painter named Samuel Mountjoy, as he tries to solve the biggest mystery of his life. You could say he's a detective, and the crime scene, it's his own past. And the whole investigation, his entire life really, is driven by one single haunting question.
And there it is. That's the question that just echoes through everything. Samuel Mountjoy is absolutely convinced that he was once free. He knows it, he felt it in his bones. But now, it's gone, and he is obsessed with finding out exactly when and how it disappeared.
So where do you even start an investigation like this? Well, for him, it doesn't start at birth. No, he goes to the last place he knew he had the thing he's missing. He goes back to this one crystal-clear memory from when he was just a little kid.
Picture this. He remembers sitting by a fountain in a park. Sunshine, bright red and blue flowers everywhere. And the feeling is one of absolute purity. There's no guilt, no anxiety, no baggage at all. Just the sound of water and this sense of pure, untapped potential. He's like a clean slate.
And this is the key to the whole memory. He sees two paths in front of him, and it hits him with this incredible clarity. He can choose either one. Nothing is telling him where to go. No one's pushing him. It's just him and a pure, uncomplicated choice. For him, that is freedom.
And this is so important to understand his mindset. For Mountjoy, free will isn't some abstract idea you debate in a philosophy class. It's real. It's something you experience directly, something you know in your gut, the same way you just know what a potato tastes like. You've either felt it or you haven't, and he knows he has.
This is exactly why he starts his story at that memory. He completely rejects the idea that time is just this neat, straight line of bricks laid end to end. For him, and probably for a lot of us, right, time is this jumbled of overlapping moments. A really important day from 10 years ago can feel closer than a boring Tuesday from last week. That moment of freedom, that's his true beginning. Okay, so what happens when that feeling of pure, innate freedom is gone? Well, Mountjoy spends the rest of his life basically looking for a substitute. He's searching for some kind of system, a philosophy, a framework, anything that can explain the world and tell him where he fits. But that search has been a total failure, and his frustration is just perfectly summed up in this quote. He feels like he's tried on every major worldview out there, and now he just sees them as a row of useless, ill-fitting hats hanging on a wall.
And just look at the collection he's tried. The Marxist hat, he thought that would explain everything about society. The clerical religious hat, barely even put it on. The rationalist hat of science and logic, that used to feel like a shield, but now it just seems kind of small and naive. And it all started with his little school cap, you know? The very first system they put on him, long before he even knew he'd spend his life looking for others.
And here's where it gets complicated. Because he's a successful painter, society kind of gives him a pass. He's supposed to be different, to live outside the normal rules. It's his job to reject all those conventional hats. But that public persona, being the artist, doesn't solve his private crisis. It doesn't help him sleep at night. His art can't answer that raw, desperate question he started with. He's still looking for something, anything, to wear that will just help him make sense of his own life. So, since all these big, external systems have failed him, Mountjoy has to change tactics. He turns the investigation inward, to his own origins. The logic is, if you can't map the world, maybe you can at least try to map yourself. And he starts with his parents.
And right away, bam, he hits a brick wall. His father is a total blank. It's not just that he never knew him, he suspects his own mother didn't really know him either. Think about that. Half of his own story is just missing. So, in place of the truth, his mother gave him, well, a rotating cast of characters. Depending on her mood, or maybe a movie she'd just seen, his dad was a soldier, or an airman, or, get this, even the Prince of Wales. The story that stuck around the longest was that he was a clergyman. But the real truth? It seems like none of them were true. And then, one day, she just drops this on him. This devastatingly honest admission. In one sentence, she just blows up all the myths she ever built, and she leaves him with nothing. An empty space. She confirms he was right to be suspicious, but she gives him no truth to fill that void. So if the father is a void, a total question mark,
His mother is the exact opposite. She's not just a character in his life, she is the landscape, the one absolute, unquestionable, solid reality.
I mean, listen to these metaphors he uses for her. She's not good or evil, she just is. She's this primal, immovable force, the warm darkness that stands between him and the cold light of objective truth. He can't get past her. In that direction, his investigation hits a dead end. She is the end of the tunnel.
So he can't find answers in philosophy, he can't find them in his own family history. Mountjoy is forced to turn his investigation to the last, and by far the most difficult place there is to look, the darkness inside himself.
And Golding defines this darkness as that essential part of our own consciousness. You know, the real you, that's kind of trapped inside your own head, looking out through your eyes, experiencing the world through these limited senses. That feeling of being totally, utterly isolated inside yourself.
And this, for Mountjoy, leads to the central tragedy of being human. We have this desperate, passionate need to connect, to bridge the gap between our own internal darkness and someone else's. But we can't, not perfectly. There are always filters, words fail us, there are misunderstandings. It's a passion and a desperation all at once. Which brings him right back to where he started. The question is still just hanging there. How did that innocent kid in the park, the one who was as clear and free as spring water, somehow turn into this burdened adult, this stagnant pool of confusion and regret? And in the end, the whole investigation, it fails. After digging through memory, philosophy, and his own family, he cannot find a single point on the map. Not one event, not one clear choice where he can say, there, that's it. That's the moment I lost my freedom. It's just not that simple.
And this is where Golding leaves us, and where Mountjoy's personal quest becomes a question for every one of us. It forces us to ask if our past is just a collection of stories that we change and retell and misremember over time, then what are we building our identity on? If you can't trust your own memory, how can any of us ever really know who we are?